Here we go. Take two. Hello, hello. It is Tuesday night with the People's Pride Project, and we are here with another informative, entertaining, elevating, all of those lovely words. We're here for another couch conversation. And this week's guest, oops, you almost did the same thing, is Evan Dougoud of BeHeard Movement. And you are in Tulsa, Oklahoma, doing the
Tulsa,
good work.
Oklahoma.
Hey, trying to end homelessness. So thank you. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here and ready to just talk and add value and appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Um, so we could start like everybody starts. How did you get started with your project?
Right. So when people ask me that, I usually talk about my personal life story.
Mhm.
I couch surfed for a little bit and went through a really rough time as a child, as a teen. Just trying to find my way. I grew up in actually Virginia, downtown Newport News is what they call it. Or they call it bad news actually. And it was really rough. And a lot of death, a lot of just gang and things like that. And so my cousin actually was like shot and murdered when I was real young, and that just took a toll on me. But everywhere I turned, like my teachers would always like help me and support me and just take time to make sure that I'm taken care of, and that got me through high school. I don't think I'd be standing here to this day if it wasn't for my teachers. And then I ended up moving to Tulsa, and then I worked at a nonprofit called Youth Services to help homeless youth in Tulsa.
Mhm.
And then a lot of the homeless youth were like, nobody's listening to us, always telling us what to do. And so I just was there listening to them, and they wanted to share their stories about how they got to to become experiencing homelessness. And I said, okay, I got this old busted camera, and so I can come out there, right? And so we actually went out there to record their stories, and then we were like, okay, what are we gonna call this? They were like, "Be heard and unseen" or something like that. I was like, oh, be heard, I like that.
Mhm.
So Be Heard started, on the voices of our friends on the street, and then now it just turned into this huge nonprofit in Tulsa where we can help people get out their homelessness too.
It's wild how things kind of naturally pivot to whichever way they're supposed to go. Like we all have stories of starting in one thing, and it's like, nope, you're supposed to be here, and you
Yeah,
just end up there. So
that's
I can
very true.
appreciate that. I can appreciate that. Um, this specifically touches on something that's dear to my heart with
Mm.
regard to not just homelessness, but in general, how we treat each other. So,
Yeah,
what
that's
you do
very
for me is special because you do provide that sense of I might be in a situation, but this is not who
true.
I am,
Ooh,
you know?
that's good.
So, you want to tell us a little bit more about how you came into that lane?
Yeah, so like I said, we only got to this point just because we listened first, right?
Mhm.
If we didn't listen first, or if we assumed we knew their need, our
Mhm.
assumption actually blocked their real need, right? And so they told us that they wanted showers, they told us they wanted laundry. So I was like, okay, what can I do? And then I, did some research, found out there was like mobile laundry trailers, mobile shower trailers, and because we listened first, we were able to help them what they want to help with instead of just putting my assumption on what they needed, right? It's just about empowering voices, I think the most powerful thing you can do in the street is allow them to use their voice, allow them to use their decisions. Because right now, if I'm homeless in Tulsa, I'm told where to sleep, what to eat, and I'm always told something. I'm never like asked like, hey, what do you need, right? And so by just like asking them what they need is giving them power to use their voice back, but also like really gain confidence in their voice to take that next step in life. And so for us, like we created a mobile drop-in center where we offer free showers, laundry, haircuts, clothing, and also resources to help them in their homelessness, right? And so that's what they needed. That's what Tulsa didn't have. And so I just didn't
Mhm.
want to create another outreach, just once a
Right.
month. We wanted to create like something sustainable that works and that can help them actually get out their situation, right?
Mhm.
And so, like I said, by listening first, we were able to meet that need and help many people.
That's important across the board. Last week we were talking about education, and the week before that we were talking about therapy. This idea of really listening to each other is so
Yes.
foundational in building community and helping us move forward.
Mhm.
Because we do get caught up in the well, this is what I'm being told to do, or this is what I've been trained to do, and it's always we're under the guise of everybody else, and you do lose that autonomy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah. So, it's just like we really want to empower their stories, because I know that like stories help other stories, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
by me telling my personal story to somebody else, not the full thing, but just bits and pieces, that can really help somebody in their story, right? And so that's what we wanted to do, is really empower them to tell their story, and then once they told their story, people in the community, like, oh my gosh, like that's Bill on the screen. I know Bill. So every time I see Bill walking, I saw him on BeHeard's YouTube, right? And it's just like we're kind of building that connection too, but it's also about allowing voices to be heard, because it's not fun, or it's really discouraging when somebody else who doesn't know you is telling you what to do, that doesn't know you or your need, or doesn't really care to, right? And so
Right.
um, it's been a blessing to just to hear stories, be part of them, but also advance their stories too.
So how long has your project been active?
So we became an official nonprofit October 13th of 2020. So almost like, well, it's gonna be 2 years this year, but I've started it like kind of a year ago before that. So pretty much around 3 years. It's been real quick. Like I had no idea none of this was going to happen this fast. I mean, we just hired our second employee this month, and last month, I mean, last year we
Okay.
didn't have nothing. We didn't hire nobody. I was eating McChickens, like that was it, right? And so that was it. And so just the fact that we got here so fast, that means we're doing something right, And so
Absolutely.
we're gonna keep on doing something right, but we're also trying to make sure our heart posture is right too. We
Hmm.
never want to get too like, oh, this is what I got to do. Like this is what we get to do, but also we kind of,
Okay.
we need to do it as well. So we gotta make sure our heart posture is right, so we don't lose sight of why we do this.
That might be a quote that you might see me post. I'm not even gonna lie, because
Let's
I like
do it.
I like that. This isn't what I've got to do. This is what I get to do.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. And it makes so much sense because a lot of us start out in this, we want to help, we want to make a change. And then down the line, it's like, oh, I'm sick of this. Like
Yeah,
it becomes such
it's
a burden and a drain.
Yeah, it's crazy because like in this work, like people, it's rare to see somebody who's been like helping the homelessness social work field for over 5 years, right? Just because
Mhm.
like people get burnt out, people get a lot of secondary trauma they hear. It's just
Mhm.
it's hard to take care of yourselves, and then you get numb to people's stories, or people, or being around people, right? And so like
Mhm.
I never ever want to get there. So I'm all about taking self-care, go get your feet done, go get your eyebrows done, but it's just like taking care of yourself so you can help other people longer. This is a
Right.
marathon, not a sprint.
Very true. Very true. So, in hearing these stories, has there anything that has really, I know the general impact, but has really shaped, like narrowed what you wanted to do to turn it into what your project is now?
Yeah, so there was a girl, I believe she was 16 years old. She was living
Mhm.
in a tent in the middle of the woods. And I asked, like, how did she kind of get there? Like, what's going on? She said she had a home, but at home, her stepdad was being real abusive and like kind of threatened her for her life. And so the mom, the stepdad threatened the mom, said, "Hey, choose your daughter or me." And the mom chose, the stepdad, and that forced the daughter out, right? And so the girl, she was actually homeless on the river, but she had a home, but she didn't feel safe at home. She felt more safe being outside. So
Mhm.
hearing her story, being so young, kind of resonate within me, but also allowed me to hear that so we can change it. I feel like it's hard to change something if you don't really see it, right? And so like if I don't see I don't know, a traffic light, and then I can't change it, just because like
Mhm.
there's traffic coming my way, but I can't see that because I couldn't see the traffic light, right? And so by
Mhm.
you seeing things, you can help other people too. So that was one story that really shook me, for
Mhm.
sure.
There's a quote by Fred Hampton, former chairman of the Black Panther Party, and he says, "Theory is good, but theory without practice ain't shit."
Ooh.
So is that whole, and I feel like a lot of times, especially when we want to help community and we're like so gung ho to start, we get caught up
Mhm.
in the theoretical. We want to, dot the T's and cross. I'm talking all sorts of backwards. Dot the I's and cross the T's, and we
Mhm.
get in this analysis paralysis that really keeps us from getting hands on into the street. And
Right.
that's where, we need the grassroots. We don't need just the figureheads and the spokespeople. So is
Yeah.
there a way that you've learned to manage that? Because you keep talking about like high school kids like they're mad far away from your age range. You don't look like it at. I'm not gonna
Nah,
pass no judgment because we hide
I
it
need some
well.
roots in here.
But but I'm
Right.
saying like how do you negotiate that?
Yeah. So that's a good question. So I believe like one thing in Tulsa might be different from other cities because
Mhm.
there's people who want to help, they just don't know how to. So we're really trying to create
Mhm.
that avenue of how to help effectively versus just like there's nothing wrong with this by the way, but just going out once a month or things like
Mhm.
that. That's great. But for Tulsa, we know that people need more consistency, and
Mhm.
so we just want to bridge that gap because churches out here they want to help too. Big businesses they want to help. They just like they don't know how to.
Mhm.
So we're trying to bridge that gap to get them to help in excellence, right? Versus just
Mhm.
rarely or when they feel like it,
Right.
So that's been a struggle, and that will always be an ongoing process to get people to trying to shift their perspective and then help more consistently,
Mhm.
because it's one you're not getting paid to do that, and that's already
Absolutely.
kind of a barrier you got to cross over. But
Mhm.
for us, I really want to encourage the younger generation to actually get involved because I don't know, I didn't have my dad growing up and when I was a teen, and but I feel like if they was to serve or volunteer, now that could
Mhm.
benefit their family later, and so. I'm all about just guys getting involved. Obviously, the women they show up great. The ladies they show up, they volunteer, they serve. But the men we need to step up, And so I'm
Mhm.
hoping to encourage the men to really get involved so they can and help their families later.
Right. I mean, even the distinction that you're making, when we do part of what we do for our initiative is clothing donations, and we always
Mhm.
find that women are so quick to give, but it's
Yeah.
mostly men that need. So it's like
Yes. Yes.
we're trying to get more supplies, or we'll go out to the store ourselves and get things to fill in the gaps. But a lot of our stuff right now is being done in Newark, New Jersey,
Oh
which
wow.
has we have a really we the city has a really high homeless population because it's such a traffic hub, right?
Right.
But we're finding that the city government, while they think that they're helping, they're putting a lot of roadblocks. And do
Yeah.
you guys deal with a lot of that too? Because like we have to have all sorts of permits now just to go out, and like they're really
Um.
starting to do stuff.
Yeah. So it is challenging. I think what
Hmm.
works for us is we can park our mobile drop-in center on private property. Right now, the best luck we have is churches and small businesses. We can just
Hmm.
park there and provide services, so we're on their property, so that people they can't really like kind of like touch us really in a sense. But
Hmm.
it's also they've been lenient since with COVID, but since it's coming
Hmm.
back, they're tired of people like holding signs up and asking for money. They're just done with it, right? And so but there's no alternative to that,
Right.
right? Right now we're in a housing crisis here in Tulsa, but there's no sense of urgency of trying to get housing available, But
Hmm.
we're thinking like you can sweep, people under the rug. You can't see them until the problem's fixed, but it's just like it's not fixed, right? And so, if I have like 10 marbles in a shoebox and I move them to the left, I still have 10 marbles in a shoebox, And so,
Right.
but I think that's why we're here. I think one day we'll be able to have our own housing and help in
Hmm.
homelessness effectively here, and then that could be done in other cities and states as well. So
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned Tulsa specifically with you're saying there's limited housing, but Tulsa as a city is doing outreach to try to get people to move into their city and boost their economy.
mhm.
So what are we doing? And I'm seeing the same thing in Newark. You're building like high-rise luxury apartments in the
Right.
shadow where all the
Mhm.
homeless are sleeping.
Mhm.
So how does that work out?
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, I should probably clarify. So I should say, housing crisis for affordable housing, right? And so, like the minimum wage has stayed the same, but housing has gone up since COVID, right? A lot. But to get the housing is very, very hard, right? And so especially with like the gentrification, like you said, more expensive apartments and luxury houses coming up, like if that goes up, then the affordable housing goes down because people over here got more money, right? And so
Mhm.
it's a city, so I get, gotta have the money, but at the same time, like we gotta put people above profit, but
Mhm.
hopefully one day we could change that.
Because I know for us, by law, and this is another thing, laws are great until you don't know that they exist.
Hmm.
Like, part of the housing mandate in New Jersey is that for every high rise or every apartment building, a certain number of units have to be allotted for affordable housing. But
Mm.
they allot the units, but they don't make them known. You know what I mean? So it's like the developers are getting over, but nobody knows they can't apply
Yeah.
for the housing.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of red tape that likes to pop up under the guise of, oh, we're doing the best that we can.
Right. It's a lot. So, but we're gonna keep doing what we're doing, and hope I think one day we'll see a change for sure. We're gonna have to at this point. So
Absolutely. What if you had your way in this future without homelessness? What would it look like? And then we'll backtrack to say, how can we get there?
right. So I believe you need community, right? So a lot of people who've gotten house so far, like obviously people who are on the streets, they kind of tend to be around other people for
Hmm.
protection, just stay in numbers, right? So let's say I house one person from that group, right? And they get housed. Now they have a bed, they have a mattress, they have all this stuff, but they're alone, right?
Hmm.
And so, but their friends are on the street. They feel like they have abandoned them, and that's their support, right? So they have a home, but they feel alone versus being on the street with no home and feeling like they have
Hmm.
support, right? And so,
Hmm.
I think if we can get people to support people when they get housed effectively. Community is key to end homelessness, right? If not, we're just gonna keep having this pattern, right? So a key, doesn't really end homelessness. There's also like barriers you face with like just there's a lady, we got her house. She's been homeless for 10 years, and she
Wow.
did not sleep on her bed until the third month because the bed hurt her back because she's so used to sleeping on the concrete on the ground, right? And so that there's stuff like that, but but she needed that support through it. The first 14 days when somebody gets housed is the most crucial, to support them while they're housed, right? Because you can't just like leave them there and hey, you're done. So we need more support. So here in Tulsa, it's called permanent supportive housing, where people, they get housed, they can have a case manager and support system around them. That's what we would do too, is give them all sorts of support, but also jobs as well. Like we want to have our own thrift store one day where people can get housing and then like work their way back into a job, right? Build their
Hmm.
confidence up a little bit, then seek long term sustainable employment, right? And so it's got to be
Hmm.
steps, and then every step we have to congratulate. But like I said, for us, we're focused on building community. That's why we're actually going to start community on the streets. Right now we see a lot of outreaches doing, building community, but there's nobody's building a community outside of outreach, right? So we have a caseload of 15 people. So every person we have on a caseload, they'll have 2 to 3 unpaid volunteers to be around them, to like take them to the movies or bowling or out to eat, 2 to 3 hours a month, right? And that's key because we want unpaid people to be around them because in my phone, like over half people on my phone aren't paid to be around me, right? Right? They're my friends.
Hmm.
And so we don't want people to be paid to be around them because I'm paid to be around them. Case managers are paid to be around them. The police is paid to be around. We want people
Right.
that are unpaid to be around them to build that community of support. And so, like I said, I believe that we have more community will end more homelessness.
So it's essentially like a Big Brother program for the homeless.
Um, in a sense, we have a saying called like client choice, client voice. So, like, let's say a client does not want that support, that's fine, right? But we still have to try to find some goals for them. But I just believe that having like people to support you and to be there for you, take you out to eat every now and then, I think that's huge, and to celebrate life with you. Like I think people in the street, they never really had a birthday party before, so when their birthday comes, we got to celebrate if they would like that, and take them out to eat and just love on them. And I believe we'll see like that's the start to change.
It helps. there's definitely the need for normalcy, or
Yeah.
I guess because they've shifted into a different version, like they have a new normal for themselves, kind of creating a
Right.
sense of, yes, community, but it's value. You know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah.
are valued. People see you. You know, you're
Mm.
not. So much of it is this idea that that unhomed people or unhoused people should just be this invisible force that nobody sees, nobody should have to interact with. The other day when we
Mhm.
were doing our give outs, people were walking right where were you in front of, just going through the park like it was no big deal. I'm like, you don't see these people? Like,
Wow. Yeah.
there's just such a tunnel vision, like they don't exist. And personally, I have a problem with that. I
Yes.
have a big problem with that. It's like, you
Yeah.
see me, you don't see them standing there.
It's crazy. Like, that just blows my mind. Like, imagine being homeless for like 4 years, and like people just choose not to see you for 4 years. That's a huge
Mm-hmm.
adjustment to make. To now to step out, and that's I couldn't imagine. Just people looking at you and just looking the opposite way or just looking above you. Um,
Right.
that's crazy.
How do you do as far as collaborative services? Like, do you tie into like mental health services or other? I hate using the word outreach because whatever, but other services that they can use.
Yeah, so we actually partner with a dental community outreach. They provide dental services there at our outreach drop-in center. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then we partner with other case managers for case management, because that's very key to help in the homeless system to develop case plans. And then we also have DHS comes out to help with food stamps. We help with birth certificates and medical as well. So it's just like this
Okay.
one-stop shop on wheels. So we can take this anywhere, right? We can take this to North Tulsa, South Tulsa, versus just having a building. I'm stuck at this building. You have to come to me. Because when COVID
Right.
hit, shelters didn't, they went from full capacity to like only like a certain amount of people. So people were actually
Mm-hmm.
forced out. They weren't getting those services that they needed. So that's why we came up and okay, how can we meet these services? I think the old way is like you come to me if you want it, but now
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna come to you and right where you are, and create an experience so it can help you get out your situation, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
we've had people that their goal was to reconnect with family, and we've actually bought them a bus pass, and confirmed that they had family there and they got them back with their family, and so it's whatever our people want, our friends want, and it's been real successful in the city. And I just think this model could be duplicated in other cities to help more people too.
Absolutely. So, how do you go about collaborating or perhaps growing it into other cities and locations?
Right. So right now we're actually going to expand into Oklahoma City this year.
Mm-hmm.
So we never want to go to a city that we're not like asked invited to. One, because we're not trying to expand just for sake of our name. Like if we're doing that, then let's just shut it down, right? But we're trying to expand the cities that want us there and that see the results. So Oklahoma City, which is like 2 hours away from Tulsa, they really really want us there, and so by the end of this year we'll be full time there as well. So whoever like it was a city that reached out to us. They came, saw it for themselves. We sat down with them, developed a game plan, some numbers and things like that, and said,
Mm-hmm.
hey, like we would love to be here. Ball's kind of in your court. How bad would you, do you want us, right? And so, actually next month we'll be there, like starting once a month until I would say around August. Then we'd be there like 3-4 times a week, with our own team, with a different team out there. So I'm all about collaborating. I'm all about working together. I think we can do more together versus just trying to reinvent the wheel, or you do your thing, I'll do my thing. Like let's just all come together. Like at our outreach, what's special is like we have all these agencies, all these groups coming together to like work together. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's been in Tulsa, and that's been key. So I mean, imagine just putting your name, like yes, it's where we heard, but we put our name down so we can come all work together. That's
Right.
beautiful.
I completely agree with that. I'm all about
Mhm.
community and collaboration. Um,
Yeah.
Dang it, I had a good question. It just left. It was covered. It was covered.
It was a good one
Um,
too. I felt
it was, yeah, it was on point. But as far as collaborating, one of the things that I see in our area is there it goes. When you start going through the collaborative process and you start getting more involved with the city, you kind of get bogged down in
Mhm.
not necessarily the rules and guidelines, but
Mhm.
it becomes about the paperwork and the budget and the money and the this and the that, and you actually begin to lose the capabilities of doing all that you were doing when you were kind of guerrilla rogue vigilante doing it.
That's very
So
true.
I mean, is that something you've experienced, or how do you work around that?
So right now, I mean, we've been very blessed, I should say, most definitely blessed because our funding right now is like 80% of like faith-based private donations. So that
Mm-hmm.
money we can freely, like, we're not like bound to any
Mm-hmm.
specific like grant or whatever. We can use that money for whatever is needed the most, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
also do get grants. Obviously, I think every nonprofit kind of relies on grants too. But we've been very blessed to rely heavily more on faith-based organizations and private donations to really like not like put us in a box, but we can,
Mm-hmm.
like, if we see a need, we can meet that need instead of like, oh, can I do this? Can I do that? That's been great. But I think I know grants are very important too, but it's just I don't like being tied down to certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all there's a lot of good grants out there actually. It's just more paperwork, but we can help more people though.
It is all about helping the people. And I can appreciate that, for lack of a better term, it's fresh blood, because a
Mhm.
lot of these systems and situations really get caught up in, well, this is how we've always done it. So they're not necessarily as willing to pivot and meet the needs as they arise.
Mhm.
So the what you're doing, I can appreciate, because it's, number one, it's a far fuller spectrum
Mhm.
than is usually applied to homelessness in any one
Right.
way, right?
Yeah.
I love the fact that you meet people where they are, because to me that's important.
Mhm.
Like, you start where you are. If you, whatever, that's a
Right.
whole nother topic. I'm gonna leave that alone. Um, and the fact that you do offer so many services that cater to revitalizing this "you're not forgotten" sort
Mhm.
of vibe.
Right.
Like, you do the haircuts, you do the showers, you do, you have like a whole range of services that you provide.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I
I'm
think
feeling
what's
it.
key is like checking your energy, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
if we're tired, we're not really excited. So, like, why are we kind of there? And so when somebody gets out the shower, we turn up, we go, "Whoa, what's up? You looking good? You smell good." We just want to make them feel like, "Oh, I took a shower. I look good. I'm gonna do this again next week." We want to help them
Mm-hmm.
build that confidence, but it's just like we need to check our energy first. We need to check who, like, are we taking care of ourselves first? Because if we're not, it's going to show at outreach, and that's not fair to the person we're serving, right? And so
Absolutely.
if I'm dating somebody, like, I'm not going to give you 80% of me, right? And that wouldn't be fair to her. Just like outreach, if I'm doing outreach, I'm not gonna just be 80% of myself. I need to give you 100% of myself, my attention,
Mm-hmm.
my listening, my ears, and then, like, I'm here to serve you. How can I help, right? And so I know that's
Mm-hmm.
just been our goal. Our team loves to turn up. Like, we crazy, we wild, right? And so we love when people get out the shower. Oh, you look good. What a new pair of shoes? Come right over here. It's we want to we want
Mm-hmm.
to we want to be different, right? We're not better. We're just different. And so
Right.
I keep in the atmosphere of it's new, it's fresh, and then making it fun, exciting. That's also cool as well.
That's cool.
Mhm.
Because I know for us, we've only been doing it. It's okay. That segments of the project has only been like a recent occurrence, because myself and a friend of mine were like, yo, people need help. So we're just going to go do it, you know?
That's
So trying to build the bridges, because we definitely wanted to bring in, like a barber and like all of these different things, because it, to
yeah.
me, it seems superficial. Well, why do they need that? Because you need it, right? So what's
Mhm.
the difference?
Right.
um, this whole idea that once you lose certain property, or you lose certain quotas of things that you're supposed to have, you lose your humanity. And that's
Mhm.
not true. Like that's not what it's about. So what can we do in a larger sense of we in to create, I guess, more networks, more like how do we keep this sort of give and take across, say, state lines or other, because there's too much happening, you know?
Right. So I know for us, we're about progression, right? So we want to take
Hmm.
baby steps to keep going.
Hmm.
So I just want to say like that you guys got involved to, you was like you were like, I see it, I'm gonna meet it, right? And so just
Hmm.
that yes alone is gonna help people, right? I'm not really focused on like numbers, but just like the quantity or the
Right.
quality of people, like you gonna help it, right? And I could just sense like you're like, oh, I love you. What's going on? I just sense that about you, right? You love to
Hmm.
help, and not for the looks, but you just love to help everybody, not just us specifically with people. And so
Hmm.
one by even having like your heart and that's gonna take you farther than other people. I promise you, it really is. So never change that. But I would say for when I first moved here, like I reached out to other nonprofits in the area to like help volunteer, help out, and just kind of get to know them, right? So you want to build that rapport up with them, and that creates network, with them, in the future too. So I'll reach out to other nonprofits in the area, see how they're doing things. I never want to reinvent the wheel. That's just us
Right.
though. But just reach out to them, see how they're doing it, and how you could do an event together. I don't know. I'm really big on collaboration, and so I think you are too, or I know you are. And so I believe like just if you reach out to other nonprofits in the area, take a baby step, that's going to create a huge momentum shift, I believe, and then it will make it real successful too.
That makes sense.
Hmm.
That makes sense. And I'm a fan of having a variety of skill sets available because even this past week, my friend and I that actually started doing the initiative, we're both birth workers.
Mm.
So meeting pregnant homeless women or women that have just had babies and being able to just sit and talk with them and give out diapers and formula. And we spoke to one lady, she was having her first child. We were like, so do you have a birth companion? Do you have somebody that can help you through this?
Right.
Like, girl, take my number. Like,
Girl, take
we're
my number.
we're here. So I think that in and of itself is extremely important to pull these people in. Like, oh, you do that? Cool. You can help. You do that?
Yeah,
Cool. So yeah.
that's great. I know, like in Tulsa, when the race massacre hit, a while
Mhm.
ago, I think that created a a, a, a boost or increase in the homeless population for the Black culture, right? And so
Mhm.
right now I'm trying to partner with other agencies, or they're actually coming to us to trying to help people who are experiencing homelessness that are Black, right? And so it's been cool to helping them and hearing their stories of like their generational line of, hey, my grandfather owned a barber shop on Greenwood, but it burnt down, which kind of stumbled me kind of here, right? And
Mhm.
so that's heavy to hear, but it's cool to help them out, and because I feel like they get overlooked in Tulsa as well, and we can't let that keep on going on. So I know when I grew up very rough with my mom, and it was very rough, but we always get overlooked and things like that just because we're from a different part of the city, right? And so
Mhm.
I don't want that to happen here in Tulsa for other people. So
Here I go again. It's like I'm listening and I'm processing and I'm like, ooh, question. And then it's like, nope, it's gone.
boom, it's gone.
It's gone. It happens. But I think this topic, especially, I mean, homelessness has a wide variety of causes. If we
Mhm.
want to look at it from a racial standpoint, we want to look at certain levels of discrimination. You want to look at it as an economic standpoint, even dealing with certain certain demographics with higher levels of abuse. Like these
Mhm.
things all play a part into how
Yeah.
the situation gets there. And I think those are specifics that need to be addressed when doing this work. It can't just be like a one size fits all for everybody.
Yeah.
And honestly, what I've come across is a lot of people or a lot of organizations are creating or going by this sort of one size fits all model. Like, well, you're homeless, so this is what you're going to get, and that's it. So, how do we work in a broad sense? I'm not even just talking like specifically, but how do we work to change that sort of narrative? Like, it's okay to work with, certain segments of the population to deal with their specific needs versus just a blanket answer for everybody.
Right. And so, well, I know for us, we had to assess like how are people becoming homeless in Tulsa, right? Because if you're
Mm-hmm.
Tulsa might be different from like Atlanta, right? Two
Mm-hmm.
different cities, two different economics. So in Tulsa, a lot of people were becoming homeless because of domestic violence, like escaping, and then they lost their job, and then drug use. So once we understood those three areas, those three aspects, we can actually effectively attack and help those three areas, right? So because if somebody gave me like 1,000 homes right now today, that would house 1,000 people, but then in 5 years there'll be more people on the street just because we got
Right.
to figure out what's causing that to keep on going. We have to have a preventive and then a solution. So
Mm-hmm.
I know here in Tulsa there's an agency that have preventative outreach to make sure people who are about to get evicted know their rights and that they won't be homeless eventually. So they actually helped I think over like 300 people this year or last year to not become homeless. So that's very, very important is to like kind of like just like identify the needs in the community of like what's causing them and then how can we solve those three needs and then what's the solution to both sides. Because housing, like I said, it can only take you so far, but if you're not preventing it, it's just going to keep on going year after year and every 10 years or so. So
Do you think there is an actual way to end homelessness? Like, we say it like, yeah, that's great, that's what we want to do. But do
right.
you think that's a realistic goal? Like, that's a possibility?
Right. So I don't know. I think for me, I have to believe there is an answer just because that's just me. I have to believe it. I know that there is a solution. There's actually a term I forgot what it's called where if you in homeless within a city, but there is a solution. But then there's other like this small handful of people who kind of just want to stay out there, and I've rarely seen that. But I've actually know two right now off the top of my head. They just want to be out there. But like how you grew up in like elementary schools. Hey, what do we grow up? Nobody said homeless, right? Nobody
Right.
did. Right. So I don't think like they actually want to be out there. They might just accepted it and like, hey, I'm just done. This is all I ever be. Right. And
Mm-hmm.
then to kind of like a- you know, attack that is like just to create be consistent with them. And then one day it's gonna be really cold. They're gonna say, you know what, you're right, I need housing, and then kind of just serve them that way. Kind of just being consistent and waiting for them. But I don't know. I don't think people actually want to be out there. But I do think there's a way to actually effectively end homelessness. I feel like I just have to believe that.
So you're saying it's similar, I guess, with the prison complex. It's like, hey, I like that fear of the fear of moving forward, the fear of again
Yes, and
creating a new normal. I
yeah,
know
I
a
know
lot of people go
changes.
back because it's like, hey, this
Yeah,
is what I know. I can function like this. I can't function in this new way or remember this way.
right. And I think change is scary, right? And so I know me when I switched jobs, like that was I'm like, okay, hold on now, like that's scary, So I think, especially if like you tried to do something before and then you got back down, try to do it again, lost your mom, now you're back down. It's just like I'm tired of just trying. Every time I try, it doesn't work out, right? That's why people go to certain things to help with that. But yeah, it's very tough to see people try their best to get out, and then they just get right back down, try it again, and then it's like, I'm done with this. I'm this will all I this will all this will I will always be, and so um, that's very tough to hear.
Do you feel like back to what you were saying about finding people homes or getting people into a new home environment? Do you feel like community or communal homing would be a more feasible option, or
Yeah,
is that?
there's a thing called community first
Mhm.
housing, which
Yeah.
basically means like you'll get housed, but you'll also have a wide variety of support around you, that will like take you out for a walk each day or every other day, and take you bowling, or go to the garden center, garden, things like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just think from Tulsa's perspective, like community is key to keeping somebody housed
Mhm.
successfully. Just
Mhm.
because, like I said earlier, you go from having that support system on the street to now you're by yourself. You're like, oh, I abandoned my friends on the street. They think I just left them, and then you go back out. But I don't know. I just think community, but help them, effectively in their homelessness like forever versus just a
Right.
house. But yeah,
We talk about this a lot within the People's Pride Project about not just community, but community living, community generational living, and this
ooh,
idea that we're not we've fallen into this mindset of extreme individualism, not individuality, individualism. There we go.
said
And
it me.
I think that's hindered us because it's this push that I have to be by myself, I have to do for myself, I have to be this solo entity. Where humans in general, we flock to community, we thrive in groups. So
Mm,
there's this constant struggle, especially in more westernized societies, that I need people, but they keep telling me I'm supposed to do it by myself.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I go ahead. You can jump in
No,
whatever. I'll
no,
talk.
I was just agreeing. I was just agreeing. I was just agreeing.
So I think that kind of plays a hand in how best to approach, because it needs to work from both directions. Like, you want the individual to feel empowered, you want the individual to be dignified, you want the individual to feel
Yeah.
seen, but by the same token, that has to pour into the community, and the community has to pour into that individual, or it's
Yes.
going to just be a redundant cycle that happens.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true.
Okay.
I agree. You said it. I don't need to add anything with that one. That was good.
Listen, I will. I just talk off the top. So go ahead. Whatever you got to say, throw it in there. I'm not going to interrupt. I promise.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. But I don't know. Like I said earlier, um, community is key, and then listening is key as well. Like I said, we only got here just because we listened first.
Hmm.
And this whole thing has just been a cool story. I hope this is like a movie or a book one day. That'd be awesome. Because there's no way. I'm like, I just turned 26 not too long ago. I don't know no kid from no Virginia that's made it out like this, and so to help other people, and so it's something definitely behind it and on it, and very blessed to know that like this is working and it's helping many people, and then their generations too. So
And that's what it is, man. I like to tell people that I just follow where I'm led, right?
mm,
And I feel like it's a similar situation. It's kind of like, yeah, I might want to be over here, but I have to follow where I'm led, wherever that leadership is coming from, wherever that intuitive sense of, I need to be here and I need to be doing this.
yeah,
And when you come from that heart space and just rock with it, the
rock,
doors open, the people show up. And like you said, I mean, you wouldn't have thought, but this is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. This is exactly where you're supposed to be
exactly.
in this time. And it's just like, yo, I'm going to do it till I'm not supposed to do it no more. Like, when I'm led somewhere else, then that's where I'll go. But
Yeah, like I don't know, loving people regardless of religion, race, color, background, identity. It's just like you just want to love people, man. And so I
mhm,
think love is key. And
absolutely.
I don't know, there's people on the street that are praying and hoping for a shower, and then like just loving on them regardless, like I said, of the race, religion, whatever it is, just being present with them. It's
Hmm.
just I'm not trying to push something on you or put like my assumption on you. Like
Hmm.
I want to just tear that all the way and just be present. Hey, how can I help you? What do you really need? Like, what can I do? It's not more so what I say, but it's more so how I listen. And so,
Hmm.
by us listening effectively, we can help more effectively.
That's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I love having these conversations when they turn into like little mini church sermons. And
Oh
you're like,
yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah. Hey, my mom would have grabbed the tambourine, whoop, whoop, whoop. I'd be like, "Hey, put that up. I'm going home."
right? So that's a beautiful thing. And I know you don't know me like that, but I will tell you from the heart, I'm proud of what you're doing. I appreciate
Mhm.
what you're doing, even from New Jersey. Like, it's
It's nervous.
necessary and
Yeah.
you're necessary. And I truly, truly, I can stand behind what you do. And if there's
Mhm.
ever a point where you're like, yo, just say it. And we're here.
I
So,
appreciate it. That means a lot to me. You know, it's been a tough journey. It's been a
hmm,
hard journey for sure, but it's worth it. I wouldn't change nothing. But I would love to say to you, like, by you allowing like voices to actually be heard on this setting, I think that's huge. The fact that we got to share our impact, what we're doing in Tulsa, in New Jersey, and to other people
hmm,
around the world, like that's huge. And to me, coming from sleep on the floor growing up to now, I'm like telling the story of how this happened, like that's huge. Like I know that this is a miracle how I'm still living. I promise you that. Like I promise you that. And then I'm glad that I'm still here because now it makes sense to help other people and then just love them regardless of who they are, what they want. And like I said, I gotta say shout out to you. You killing it. And so, like I said, I just think telling stories, allowing people to share their platform regardless of kind of who they
hmm,
are, it's just like that's beautiful. And you allow me to talk, allow me to say some jokes every now and then, but just like be myself. And I just can't wait to hear the impact of like somebody who watched this, years from now, like, oh, I watched dude with the weird hair say something cool, and now I'm gonna start my own thing. And so, thank you, so much.
you're very welcome. And I mean, you're right. The impact, we can't, we want immediate impact, but you
Mhm.
never know where it's going to hit or when it's going to hit. And there is a level of fluidity in that where you just got to put it out there. And I
Put it
love the
out.
fact that you keep saying loving on people because I tell people that all the time too. But it's the fact, just throw that shit out there and let
Yeah.
whoever needs to hit it, let them catch it. You
Let them
know,
catch it.
like,
Let
just
them
let us
catch it.
catch it.
We
And
love, we love well.
exactly, and that's all you can. That's all you can really do.
Yeah.
So again, I appreciate the work that you're doing. Thank you for showing up. Thank you
Hey,
for sitting down with me. And it is what it is. Keep it up.
thank you so much.
And keep your self care up. We can't have you getting burnt out.
That's right. I'm getting my these eyebrows done.
Do what you must. But this has been another Tuesday night couch conversation. That was redundant, but whatever. So, Evan, again, thank you for showing up and enjoy the rest of your night. Turn heads in Tulsa, turn up, make them know who you are, man. Make them know
Hey,
who you
appreciate
are.
it. Let's get it.
Absolutely. Have a good night, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.